they're struck by the number of things that have been packed into the small space.
There were suitcases, photographic equipment, recording equipment. There were a great number of books.
At first glance, Lam's room looks like a well-equipped photo studio.
Over the course of the search of the room, we disclosed what for an individual would be a very large amount of personal photographic equipment. Given that we knew that Lam was employed as a taxi driver, some of it was very expensive equipment, and he must have saved very hard to have obtained it.
The trunk reveals a huge stash of porn, books on human anatomy, and thousands of photographs of severed female body parts. The team also finds stacks of videotapes, a red handbag, and a pair of white shoes.
Under the bed, we found some plastic food containers. They were sealed, and as the masking tape was taken from the seal and they were opened, we could see that they contained some strong-smelling liquid. It seemed to be a form of formaldehyde or preserving fluid.
What is this?
And in the boxes were certainly body parts.
The police discover a macabre collection of female body parts, pickled in Tupperware jars and preserved like forensic specimens. Lam's tiny photographic studio had just turned into a female slaughterhouse. The detectives take 4 days to complete a thorough forensic examination of the room, and the flat is sealed. But it will take them weeks to analyze and catalog all the evidence. The police also arrest Lam Kor-wan's father, Lam Wai-lok, and half-brother Lam Kwok-keum, who live with Lam in the same flat.
It would have astonished anybody at that time to think that a single person could have been capable of achieving what Lam achieved on his own. That's why the male members of the family fell under considerable suspicion.
At police headquarters, Lam Kor-wan continues to plead ignorance. So the detectives focus their attention on his father and brother.
His younger brother had a very strange relationship with Lam. Lam was a very secretive person. Although they shared this tiny room, his brother really only used it for sleeping, putting his head down overnight. The brother told us that if he touched anything, particularly any of Lam's camera equipment, any of his records, he would get a good thrashing. He was astonished to realize what had been going on in that room. He was horrified.
The evidence collected from the room begins to pile up, but Lam seems indifferent.
He appeared to be somewhat devoid of much emotion. No doubt he was obviously thinking ahead and anticipate the type of questions they're going to be asked. He knew what was in his room. He knew that it would be disclosed.
But without a body, police know they can only keep Lam in custody for 2 days. They intensify their investigations. A small team of police systematically go through the videos from Lam's room. Within a few hours, they discover a tape that cracks the case wide open. They find themselves watching a multicam recording of Lam taking pictures of a naked woman in his own bedroom.
What struck me was, one, it was a homemade video. In 1982, in Hong Kong at least, Very few people I knew had home video cameras, never mind making videos themselves. You see him moving around, and not only was he videoing, he was taking photos, because you could see that with the flash that goes off every time he was trying to take photos.
As they watch in horror, Lam's makeshift photo studio is transformed into a private post-mortem theater.
You're actually observing almost a dissection of the body in the bedroom floor of someone's house. When it came to the second or third body, you could see that he had improved. He was cutting more deliberately. He knew perhaps more how deep he wanted to cut in some of the parts.
With this horrifying evidence in hand, the police can now present Lam before a magistrate court and detain him for further questioning. Crown prosecution accuses Lam of murdering 4 women. His own artistic endeavors are used against him. 696 color negatives, 1,500 color slides, 1,900 systematically coded photos, and 3 videotapes. The unanimous verdict pleases everyone, including family members of Lam's victims.
The father of Lam's first victim, Fung-lan, said the verdict was very fair, and he will tell his daughter about it at her grave.
Well, you think people wanted to have him executed. Be that as it may, the only penalty which the judge could impose at the time under the law in Hong Kong was a death penalty. Subsequent to that, of course, in the knowledge that it would be commuted to life imprisonment.
After the trials, Lam's father put up memorials at the Union Institute, a columbarium in Hong Kong, in memory of the 4 victims. Lam Kor-wan is currently serving his life sentence at the maximum security Shek Pik prison in Hong Kong. Even today, 27 years later, Lam remains a recluse.
林個人其實喺監獄入邊咧係單獨囚禁嘅，好多嗰啲囚犯根本就冇辦法接觸到佢嘅，甚至乎每日林過雲咧被放風，所謂放風咧就放佢出嚟散步，都有幾個懲教員係睇住佢嘅。
Prison guards reveal that Lam hasn't had a visitor in 5 years. But Lam remains a voracious reader, devouring books on human psychology, feng shui, Chinese zodiacs, and fortune-telling.